Shawn, what's going on, man? Welcome to Dad Edge.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. Yeah, I am a dad. So I don't know that I have edge, but I'm a dad. So
I don't know, man. You have obviously executed in some of the hardest environments possible, and that is playing in front of millions of people, pitching. I can't imagine that kind of pressure, actually. I mean, does it just playing in the sport for as long as you did? Did it just become like just another thing, like just another day at the office?
Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of just becomes another thing. Yeah. I wouldn't say you ever get used to it. I mean, I never took it for granted. That's for sure. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't miss it. I miss that adrenaline rush. I'm still searching for a way to get that in life today. But yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, playing in front of fans is the best, but the best part about playing a game like baseball for a living is really just having teammates. It's like if you had a job where you got to hang out with 25 other dudes and just, get to kick around in a clubhouse. And, I don't know when the last time someone high-fived me for doing something good was. That might be what I miss the most. Right.
You want to do it right now? Just virtual?
Yeah, let's do it.
Virtual high five. All right, cool. We're about ready. This is going to be a good show. I can tell you right now. Speaking of baseball, so before COVID happened, the Anaheim Angels reached out to me and our team, and it was their director of performance reached out.
A lot of directors.
I'm sure there is.
Okay.
But he reached out. He was an avid listener of the show, and he asked me to come, me and two of the people, to come in and do a 3-hour seminar on how to optimize your marriage and connection with your kids. Yeah, it was really cool. And then unfortunately COVID hit and it got canceled. Man, yeah, it was such a bummer. Especially being in St. Louis, we had Albert Pujols here, so it'd be kind of cool to see him again. But anyway, what I didn't know about baseball, because we did 4 Zoom calls with him just to set everything up and to understand the schedule and the agenda and how much time we were going to have and all that good stuff. I was completely blown away by the demand on you guys and your time. And specifically, you have to be here by this time on this day, all these things. And everything was mapped out for the season. Like we started talking, I think, in January. And I think it was, I can't remember the date anymore, but it was right after spring training. He's like, we got this one day and we have this 3-hour window. It would be perfect. And I'm like, you guys plan like that much? I mean, of course, the games and practices. I was like, all these other things, like they're all planned out. And he's like, yeah, that's welcome to baseball. That's a lot of planning. And it's a lot of planning. That was my biggest wake up call when I entered the real world. Real world means I'm not in baseball anymore, by the way. Was that I had to plan stuff. Stuff wasn't planned for me. And it's, me and calendars is we just don't get along great. But no, I mean, everything's planned for you. There's a huge demand on your time, right? A huge demand on your time. But I don't want to sit here and act like it's not great, because, I mean, just imagine your life right now. If you had somebody that told you, what time to be everywhere for the next 12 months, wouldn't that be a little bit nice? I mean, just a little bit, right? You don't have to do any of that. All the communication, the back and forth, the planning, scheduling. It's such a nightmare trying to schedule people for something, scheduling a call, scheduling a meeting, not having to do any of that. So that's not so bad. It is a lot of time, but I'll tell you, it's the only job. And I'm realizing this now I'm in the real world and I have real world friends. It's the only job that they don't give you an email address for. That's smart. That's really smart.
How great is that? I mean, a job where you don't get an email address. I mean, email's really the worst. And so anyway, but I'll just say that, going home, after a game too, there's no work to be done, right? If you go home from the office, you've probably got emails to respond to, things to do. You've got a to-do list. That doesn't really exist in baseball. You get to go home and you get to, let's say if you're a dad, right? you get to be dad, and you're not bogged down by distractions or responsibilities. And if you can learn how to, shut off what happened in the game and totally have total separation of baseball and family, that's really a sweet spot to be, because once you get home, there's nobody calling you.
Were you able to do that pretty well?
I did it really well. Yeah, I did it really well. I'll say it's a lot easier to do that when things are going well.
Sure.
A lot easier. So, in 2016, I was coming off the best season of my career, and I was having the worst season of my career. And, kind of mysteriously, I felt good. My stuff looked good. Could not get anybody out. I was just getting hit. That was frustrating. And so, that's really the first time in my life that it was a little bit challenging. Had a couple kids by this point, and so it was a little bit challenging to separate those. Sometimes, you're there playing with your kids, but your mind's somewhere else. But
no, I get it, man. And let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
We have a lot of guys obviously who listen to the show. And from what I understand, a lot of guys who listen to this on their commute, if they are still commuting. I did hear a statistic that 65% of the workforce won't go back to an office. But then again, I also heard 80% of people who quote statistics make them up. So it could be totally wrong. So I don't know. But what I can tell you is that's one of the hardest things for us as men to disconnect from, is if we had a bad day at the office and, we pissed off a customer, our boss is down our throat about X, Y, and Z or whatever it is really, really hard not to carry that. And I can imagine from your point of view, being a pitcher, no less, and being in front of thousands of people, millions of people, and maybe the game didn't go in the direction that you wanted it to, and being able to disconnect and be with your family and be dad and just be like, that was the field. That was the field and this is home. How did you do that? Because that's tough for us, man.
It's really tough. I think that the job itself, right, my responsibilities kind of dictated some of that I was able to separate. Kind of like I mentioned before, right? There was nobody asking me anything, right? So these days it's hard for me, right? And I set some pretty strict boundaries for myself when it's dad time. But still, it's not, every day I find my mind going to work, and especially when if you are the owner of your business, right? There's a lot of responsibility there. Everything kind of lies on you, especially when you're responsible for other people and their livelihood and their families and their family time. There's a lot of pressure there. What I do is, phone notifications. That's like almost number one, right? So you just got to shut off notifications. You got to shut off text message notifications. As crazy as that sounds. I got an Apple Watch for Christmas for the sole reason of being able to leave my phone everywhere. And it seems a little bit counterproductive because people are like, why would you get a watch? Now you can never disconnect. Well, it's allowed me to disconnect from my phone, right? I don't really do anything on my watch. But it allows me, if, my mom or my in-laws or my wife need to get a hold of me, they can. So that's been helpful for me.
It's funny you talk about the Apple Watch. So I'm more of a Fitbit fan, and I did the Apple Watch for 2 months. I think it was in 2019. I did that. I was like, it'd be great if I didn't have to bring my phone, but I don't know what it was. I mean, maybe it's my ADHD. You're more disciplined than I am, without a doubt, because every time that thing would buzz on my wrist, I would lose focus of the conversation that I was having.
Gotcha.
Like, I wonder, so my phone is like over here, and the notifications are off. So I have no clue if anybody's even trying to get a hold of me. And that's very freeing. But the Apple Watch, I had it for 2 months, and then I sold it.
Well, I mean, maybe no one should take advice from me, because I'm 3 months in. So who am I to talk at this point? Yeah, I got it for Christmas. So I haven't had it that long.
I think tech is individualized, right? It works. Some things work for some people, and some things just don't work for the other. I think as long as you know thyself, right? And for me, because my brain unfortunately starts to wander, when I get the buzzed, and I'm just like, man, I'm trying to do this without distraction, but every time I feel something on my wrist, I'm wondering maybe I should see who that is, right? And so I didn't get smart enough and probably turn the notifications off. So, but yeah, I get that.
That's all right.
And so share with me, what was your childhood like?
My childhood, it was a great childhood. Mom and dad were married, stayed married. I grew up, my dad was a veterinarian. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I grew up with animals, lots of animals, which was fun, which is the reason why my kids are going to grow up with animals. Cause I think it's important. I think it's good. Teaches responsibility, builds your immune system a little bit too. So that's always good from a health aspect. And yeah, I've got an older brother and an older sister. It was kind of just a great childhood. My dad was kind of the picture of a hard worker. So work ethic was instilled in me at like a really, really young age. And also kind of the idea that I could do anything I wanted to do was a message that was hit over my head over and over and over and over. My dad would always say, I don't care what you do for a living. I don't care. I don't care if you dig ditches. I don't care if you're the president of the United States, but you're going to be the very best that you can be. So we grew up in a household that loved God, and the verse that you work heartily as if you're working for God and not for men. That was a verse that was recited to us often. And so we worked hard, right? My brother, my sister, me, we worked hard. And it was kind of that mentality that kind of probably drove me through into sports a little bit. I kind of just used that to my advantage. I was probably never the most athletic. When I say athletic, I mean, I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest. Hand-eye coordination, pretty darn good, right? You stand across a ping pong table from me and I'm probably going to take you down, but no, never just the most athletic. My dad would never let us use the word can't. So that was a word we were not allowed to use. In fact, it was, if we did say it, we got a thump on the head, like a big old thump on the head. And so, yeah, I mean, that was kind of my childhood. Got serious about baseball, played every sport, got serious about baseball probably after my freshman year of high school. Just kind of started to realize that, hey, I'm pretty good at this pitching thing. And so I really kind of got, really serious about pitching at that point.
So a couple of quick questions about your childhood. Then I want to get to baseball and high school and the realization of that. You said you learned work ethic growing up. You're going to bend everybody's ear right now because, especially in this generation, it's really tough to instill that work ethic in kids. And you referred it back to your faith and the way you were raised with your faith. But put yourself in a position to where when you were young, maybe you were in your younger teens, maybe 13, 14, whatever years old, and you were working hard. And there was that part of you that maybe you didn't realize it at the time, but looking back on it, maybe this is what it was. And the realization is like, I'm a hard worker and this is why I work hard. And maybe even I feel pretty good doing it. Was that something that was faith driven and your father? And if so, what were the messages that were being sent to you specifically?
Yeah. So great question. It was driven home to me as faith driven, but I didn't really become a believer until I was 15 years old. That's really when I understood what it meant to be a Christian. And so for that aspect, I don't know that I really understood work ethic from that vantage point early in my life. I worked hard because I wanted to make my family proud, right? That was my main motivation. I also liked accomplishing things. I got satisfaction out of that. Even in school, I worked really, really hard in school. I think I liked getting good grades. I think I liked having, the best project in the class. And I don't know. I did work hard and I wish I had kind of a better answer. And I've seen it too, like this generation of kids, it's work ethic is hard to come by. I've got kids, right? They're not old enough to where I'm worried about their work ethic. But you're crazy to think that I haven't already thought about that. I see kids. I mean, I've got a 6-year-old. He's my oldest. And there was a time where I was like, he's being lazy. Like, why is he so lazy? It's just kind of a wake up call. And this has happened pretty recently, but it was like every morning, like waking up, coming downstairs. Can I watch a show? Yes. Watch a show. I'm not against TV, right? I grew up on TV. I like TV, but there's gotta be kind of like, I'm this health guy who's talking about the importance of your morning and how it sets the tone for your day and these morning routines. And here I am just like letting my kid come downstairs every morning and turn on cartoons and sit there for an hour. And so I had this wake up call that I was going to start teaching work ethic, and I'm coaching both of my boys' baseball teams, which is really fun. And so I'm kind of getting to work with their friends too on work ethic and working hard and why we work hard. And I created a morning routine for my 2 boys, 6 and 4 years old. So they come downstairs and they know now that they can watch a show after they get their morning routine if there's time before whatever's we got going for the day. So they come downstairs. The first thing they do is breathe, right? So they take some deep breaths, they pray, they write down something that they're thankful for. They write down one way that they're going to serve somebody for that day. They write one person that they want to encourage that day and what they're going to say to them to encourage them. And then they read, which is really me reading a page from right now. We're reading Purpose-Driven Life for Kids. It's just a little 1-page kind of devotional for kids, which is cool. If y'all have kids, check it out. It's a good one. We read 1 page of that, and then they have a chore. So we have a chalkboard in the entryway, and it just has one thing written down on it every day, a chore. So it might be make your bed. It's always easy, right? It's just easy. It's not to make them work. It's just to show them work ethic. It might be go water the garden. It might be go pick 10 weeds. But it's just a chore. And then they have exercise. So, again, this is not me putting my kids through a workout. For the record, someone who, has been exposed to lots of different workouts, I don't believe that kids should work out. Kids should play. So anyway, we've got a gym here at the house. My kids go play. They just roll around and go crazy for about 2 minutes, and that's it. So it's just to get them moving. And then that's it, right? They can eat breakfast. They can watch TV, whatever they want to do, but it's not perfect, right? Don't picture my kids coming downstairs like they're in the military. It's not perfect. They don't want to do it. Sometimes it's okay, right? You don't have to be that crazy strict dad about it. Have fun with it. That's the biggest thing I've noticed is you have to make things fun. You have to show that you're enjoying it, and you have to do it too, right? So it's a little bit of accountability measure for myself to make sure that I'm doing the same thing as they are.
Man, good for you. You're teaching the importance of a morning routine early on. And I didn't get that until about 4 or 5 years ago. And I'll tell you what, the morning routine is a make or break for the entire day. Just for me anyway. And
it's for everybody.
Yeah.
If you think that it's not for you, you just haven't realized that yet. And I'm sorry if that's hard for you to hear, but I've coached a lot of people with their health, and it's the truth, right? If you think that you're not a boring person and it's not important, it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what time of the morning you do it, but it needs to be the first thing you're doing in the morning.
I agree.
That's one of the biggest lost things probably for athletes too. And it's, when I get a chance to talk to guys who are still playing, it's kind of one of the things I'm talking to them about. I mean, when I played, you would laugh at my morning routine, right? I didn't exist because I wasn't even awake in the mornings. I would sleep till, I remember sleeping till, noon, 1 o'clock. That was not out of the ordinary. Roll out of bed, head straight to the field, and that's it. And then I sit in there in the clubhouse until it's game time, and I haven't done anything, right? I haven't done anything. There's so much downtime in baseball on the field and the clubhouse. And I wasted so much downtime. Downtime that I could have been, improving my relationship with the Lord improving my relationship with my family, improving my relationship with teammates, a lot of missed conversations just because I was wasting time. And talking to some of the veteran guys who have been around when I was playing and are still in the game, that's the number one thing that they say has changed in the game. And this is super sad. To me, it's sad, but the number one thing that's changed is that these young players coming up, there's no like teammate engagement. You come in from doing your work, from your workout, from your cage session, from your bullpen, and you sit in front of your locker and you grab your phone and you take care of whatever it is you want to take care of on your phone until it's time. You check the schedule. It's time for my next thing. And that's probably gotten worse and worse over the years, just as technology's, increased. Kind of that teammate conversations kind of started to go away. I mean, here's stories about guys that played in like the 70s and the 80s. And I mean, they were best friends, and they would sit around for hours after game talking about the game, probably drinking way too much beer. But that's just what they did. And, these guys that I'm a part of some of these like Ranger alumni events, those guys that played together in like the 80s, they're like still friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like they really got to know each other. And I can't say the same. I mean, I've got a few good friends, but I can't say the same for when I played. And I've got to imagine that it's probably getting worse and worse and worse.
Do you know Todd Stottlemyre by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to play for the Rangers as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just on a few weeks ago. So, but yeah,
very cool.
I look at somebody like Todd who has been around. He would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was playing before technology got really, really big. And, he still talks about one of my sons. He's 13. He plays football, and one of his buddies on the team, his dad was the third baseman when Todd was pitching for St. Louis. So Scott Cooper. And Scott and I, it's funny, we just got in a conversation not too long ago about how baseball has kind of changed, like the dynamics, the relationships, it's different than when you played when you were younger. So, well, getting back to baseball, It sounds like there was like this aha moment when you were a freshman of like, hey, this is cool.
Yeah, no, yeah. So that's when I started to take baseball really seriously, and I continued to get better and better and better and better. Played a lot of games, pitched a lot of pitching lessons. And again, that was kind of my work ethic coming in. I really, truly wanted to be the best. And in high school, I really was. I mean, I don't want to sound ungrateful or cocky, but I really was like one of the best. And going into my senior year, I really thought I was going to sign professionally at high school. My first game senior year, throw a pitch and tear the UCL ligament in my elbow and have Tommy John. So kind of, again, right. We could do a whole podcast on making plans. Right. And then other things happen, but, I went to Baylor, pitched at Baylor, was really, really mediocre my entire college career. Like very mediocre, flashes of brilliance and lots of really ugly starts. Just never really could quite figure it out. But it was kind of in there, right? Probably wasn't even good enough to get drafted. But one of my best buddies of all time is Clayton Kershaw. He was playing for the Dodgers. We played together, kind of a select ball, travel ball in high school, and it always stayed close. And he walks into the draft room on draft day and just, leans over to the scouting director. And he's like, hey, I know I've already told you this, but my buddy Shawn Tolleson at Baylor, like if you draft him, like he's going to sign and he's going to be good and he's going to work hard. Like you just trust me. Like if you've got a pick and you're like, man, we don't know who to pick here. It's like, just pick them. So they did. They listened to him. And in the 30th round, the Dodgers took me and I signed right away and started playing and started pitching really, really well in the minor leagues. Spent less than 2 years in the minor leagues, which is, less than half of what most guys usually spend there before they make it to the major leagues. And I don't know what it was. People ask me all the time, what clicked for you? I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the the pressure of school being taken away, or being able to focus 100% on baseball, or I don't know what it was. But something clicked and I started pitching well. And my major league career was really just marked by injuries, and then pitching really well, and then injury, and then pitching really well, and then injury, and then pitching really well. And it always kind of puzzled me a little bit why, not so much why I got hurt, but why it always took me twice as long as the doctor told me to recover. And, teams were always disappointed, right, in my recovery time. And I'm like, man, I'm trying so hard. I'm doing everything and above to get back, but it always seemed to take me a little longer. Knowing what I know now about health and genetics and these kind of things, like I can see the picture now, of why that was. Who you got there?
That would be my 7-year-old Lawson. You want to say?
Oh, nice. Yeah, sure.
Hey, Loss, come here. I'm going to take you off this thing. He loves talking to famous people. Loss, come here. Do you want to meet Shawn?
Or quickly, because Mom said I have to.
Hey, Lawson.
Oh, yeah. Why you got your mask on still? This is Loss.
You wear that thing all the time? What's up, man?
Yeah.
How old are you?
7.5.
7.5. That's half as important. I've got a 6.5-year-old.
I'm older than me.
Yeah.
He's on his way to
Do you like to
jiu-jitsu.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
How should I
All right.
start my game? Oh, like our
When you get back.
That'll be at 2,000.
Love you. All right. I'll see you when you
That'll
get back.
probably take till like 5:20. 5:20.
5020. Yeah, something like that. 5:30. How about 5:30? 5:30.
Yes, I feel you.
They say the funniest things, I tell you.
They say the funniest things.
Yes, they do. I had Chris Voss on here. I don't know if you know who Chris Voss is. He was the chief hostage negotiator for the FBI. Wrote a book called Never Split the Difference, and he came dropping in, and Chris Voss ended up having a conversation with my 7-year-old. That was pretty funny. So
That's crazy. That's really funny.
It's what happens when you run a dad podcast out of your house. So.
Yeah, seriously. That's funny.
But anyway, yeah.
I guess that's kind of, that's what kind of first started to kind of stir my interest in health and really thinking outside the box with health. I just realized like I was, from the time I was 16, I was put in the athlete box. And so you train like an athlete, you eat like an athlete, and that's the end of the story. And so baseball's kind of, it's a little old school. It's kind of in some ways behind on the times. And so that's kind of the same story as I got put in that same athlete box and did all the workouts that my trainer was telling me to do. Was working with personal trainers in the off season, working with a nutritionist, and year after year after year, despite how much work I was putting in, I just continued to move slower, feel worse, become more sore, gain unhealthy weight. And, to an outsider, maybe it looked lazy, but it was like, man, I am the opposite of lazy. So I started to kind of think outside the box a little bit. So in 2015, I'm having the best season of my career. I'm getting to pitch as the closer for the Rangers. We had an awful first half of the season and just surged back and ended up winning the AL West that year. And, I had 35 saves and getting to pitch all the time. And I ended up pitching like the final 5 games of the regular season, which today is unheard of. I'm the last guy that has ever pitched 5 games in a row. Probably might be the last guy to ever do that because it's not smart. I don't know that I actually have ever pitched great after that. But, that last game of the season, I got the news that my dad, so this is a dad podcast, so I'm going to talk a lot about my dad too. But my dad was diagnosed with 2 forms of stage 4 cancer. And that was like the last game of the 2015 season is when I found out about it. And of course I was shook. I was devastated. And it hit me really, really, really hard. And, he's given 6 months to live. And so as a kid who admires his dad, he's my guy, he's my mentor. He's kind of my go-to person in life. I was shook up. But also, I was at a point where my health was deteriorating. My father's health was deteriorating. And I was kind of willing to do whatever it took to kind of pull us both out of this hole. So I began reading crazy amount of books, more books than I'd ever read in my entire life, listening to podcasts. Like there's so much free information out there on podcasts. So I just started listening to all these different doctors' podcasts. I started going to see different doctors around the country, just getting testing done, trying to figure things out, really trying to crack the code on myself and then try to figure out what would be the best approach for my dad as well. Through all this, learned a lot, became really passionate about my health, made some really simple, spent a lot of money to find out some really simple changes to make, really basic stuff. And just instantly became a different person physically. Seriously. I went from about 240 pounds to 190 pounds in 6 months, just by making some really simple changes. I started working out. I cut my workout times in half. Started prioritizing sleep more than anything else in my day. Started things like a morning routine. Started drinking more water. Started managing my stress. Started reading more, watching less TV. It's amazing. The most simple things that anybody in the world could probably think to do really improved my physical health. And so it's funny, that journey of just trying to figure out my own health situation, the reason I did it was to save my baseball career, right? I realized the mortality of my baseball career. It was, I was dying in that aspect, in that regard. And I wasn't able to really save that. I never really came back, never really pitched great again, had another elbow surgery trying to come back and pitch for a different team. But I realized I had a new passion in life and God gave me a new purpose in life. And at the same time, hindsight's always 2020 when you're talking about not understanding what God's purpose for something happening is, right? I didn't know why everyone was hitting me all of a sudden, right? And I couldn't get a job in baseball. And, but all of that kept me here home, right? A half a mile away from my dad. And I got to walk every single step of the way with my dad through his cancer journey. He ended up living for about 4.5 years after his diagnosis. A lot of that is a testament to the doctors he was working with, the treatments he was getting. A lot of that's the testament to his work ethic, because he made some drastic changes in his lifestyle, his eating, exercise patterns. And I really think that had a big deal with how long he was able to last. And I think most of that had to do with just his positive mindset, right? That he really can do anything. But it was an amazing time, right? And he got to see 6 more grandkids get born. And I started helping family and friends kind of regain their health and help them to kind of open their eyes to thinking about it from a different avenue. There's a lot of people who kind of lose touch with their health. And you don't have to, and it doesn't have to be complicated. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and being healthy is a lot more than going to the gym and eating a salad. It's just so much broader than that. There's so much that goes into that. And so I started just helping these people kind of pull back the layers on what they're eating, but it's just not, it's not just what you're eating, right? That's called diet, right? That's not the most important thing, but when are you eating? Might be the most important question to ask when you're talking about food. So when are you eating? How much are you eating? Hydration, sleep, exercise, genetics, stress management, supplementation. And I was able to help some really close family and friends turn back the clock on their health. And they feel like they would tell me, I haven't felt like this in 20 years. And it was my father-in-law that encouraged me to actually, he's like, hey, why don't you, maybe this is your calling. Maybe you should do this for a living now. So I took his advice and I did it, started a company called Tolleson Health Advisors, back in January, 2020. So a little over a year ago. And, man, I've just been blown away at what God's been able to do in a little over a year, right? If you asked me if I would have had the chance to work with 20 people over the course of a year to transform their lives and their health in just 1 year after starting this business, I would have thought you were crazy, but yeah, very, very, very blessed.
What were some of the simple changes you made?
I started, an easy way to summarize that as I stopped working so hard and worked a little smarter. So I changed my exercise routine. And, I cut it from about an hour and a half to 45 minutes a day, doing more high intensity work, less volume, less kind of wear and tear. I stopped running personally. So stopped running altogether. When I say running, I mean like going for a run. I just stopped doing that. From a dietary standpoint, like what was I eating? I changed when I ate. So, you've heard of intermittent fasting, this kind of thing, right? So I narrowed my eating window. That kind of helped heal my gut just by doing that. And I started to dig into the benefits of fasting itself, and not just intermittent fasting, but actually extended fasts. And I started to learn about how it's the number one way to increase your energy, reset your metabolism, balance your hormones, heal your gut, burn fat. I mean, you name it. It's like crazy, right? That this primitive practice of fasting that we hear about in scripture has that many benefits. And the best part about fasting is that it's free. It's not even free. It's the opposite of free. It actually saves you money. And what I found with clients that I work with, it's the simplest thing for them to follow because there's no confusion. Fasting is either eating or not eating. There's no what question. And I found so many of my clients have so much success with fasting, and they have this kind of freedom that they feel. It's like a food freedom is what I call it. Food freedom means that you don't live from meal to meal. I think like us, as humans, and I kind of go back ancestrally, we weren't meant to just like live from meal to meal, just like ready to, we weren't meant to have such immediate access to food, grocery stores, fast food, just drive down the street and pick something up. Like we're not meant to have that. And so irregular eating patterns is okay. In fact, it's healthy. And most of my clients have so much success with just like recreating this like ancestral eating pattern. Sometimes that's 3 meals a day. Sometimes it's 2 meals a day. Sometimes it's 1 meal a day. Sometimes it's no meals a day. But fasting's been the biggest game changer in my life and most of the people I work with. And, I'm actually setting up I'll go ahead and say this, but I'm setting up a fasting community, totally free. And of course it's free because why would I charge you something that's supposed to save you money? But, it's essentially, I've created a fasting calendar for myself throughout the entire year. They're not all the same fasts. It's intermittent fasting. Some weeks might be a 24-hour fast. Once a quarter, we might do a longer 72-hour fast. We might incorporate water. We might incorporate tea, maybe coffee, maybe bone broth, maybe like there's things we might incorporate during these fasts, but I've created this schedule and it's what I like personally have researched and go through myself. And I just want to walk as many people through this as possible. That's it. My thought behind it is, I want to have as big of an impact as I can. And this is kind of an easy way to do it. All you have to do to opt in is text the word fast. That's it. FAST. Text that word fast to 77513 and you're in. That's it. You'll get all my messages, all my notes, all my to-dos. Here's what we're doing today. Here's what we're doing this week. That's it. Super simple. comes in as a text message. So no more app downloads.
Yeah, but no one really looks at their phone. So how can we make sure that?
Yeah,
that's very cool, man. And I know that there's also some like DNA, some genetic testing in there as well that you do. That you encourage?
Yeah, exactly. So, my kind of bread and butter is working with people one-on-one. So it's a 12-month program when I work with people one-on-one, and I just walk you through kind of the entire process. And it's not for everybody, because most people are scared to death to make a 12-month commitment to anything, right? A year contract doesn't sound very good, probably. We live in such like a Netflix world where everyone wants to go month to month and no contract. Well, no contract also means no commitments. And that's not what I'm about, right? So I want you to commit to this for a year. And the reason being is that if you come to me and you're like, man, I want to lose weight and have more energy, I could easily get you to lose a lot of weight and have more energy in 30 days. But unless we've built a deep root system of lifestyle changes that you understand, that you enjoy, that don't seem like a burden, that don't confuse you, then we haven't created a sustainable model that you can carry on for the rest of your life. So the goal is that by the end of the first year, you're golden, right? You've created a new lifestyle, new habits that are going to create sustained, lasting lifestyle changes going forward. Now, I say that, and all but one of the clients that I worked with in the first year decided to renew and do another year. So either I didn't accomplish my goal, or they just had so much fun that they want to do it again, which I think the latter's what happened. But man, it's a blast getting to work with people one-on-one. It's a constant. It's not this gimmicky, you get a call a month kind of thing. It's just this constant engagement of feeding off of each other, and me kind of helping you point the compass in the right direction. But then more important than that, keeping you accountable along the way. I mean, I think we can probably all admit that we need accountability in one area of our life, if not many areas of our life. I need accountability in many areas of my life, including my health, right? I have somebody that keeps me accountable on my health, right? Because me and Sugar, we like each other. We like each other a lot. So that's just how it goes.
We call that joyful accountability.
Joyful accountability. All right.
Joyful accountability.
I like it.
Well, the reason being is because you're right. So I just did this Instagram live actually today as we speak, even though this particular podcast is going live in May. And it was the 3 types of men. There is the victim, which they will tell you every reason why they can't do something, and they've got a story about it, and they will actually go out and they will look for proof, right, of why they can't go out and execute. Then you have the content zombie, which you spend some time there just feeding your brain and mind with information, yep. Right? Not that the content zombie is a bad place to be, because that's where the person is like, I need information. I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. Not hungry for food, because we're talking about food, but hungry, right?
Yep, I get you.
But then you reach a point where you're like, okay, nothing's really changing, but I know a lot more. So now what? And then it comes to the executioner phase. The executioner then takes drastic action, takes action on simple tactics, knows what their end goal is, and then implements the tactics to go do it. And for extra support, accountability is key. Joyful accountability, someone who's going to hold you to a high standard when you don't feel like holding yourself to a high standard. So that's what we call joyful accountability, because the results are joyful, right? Maybe not some of the process here and there. Some of them can be like, oh, this kind of hurts, but
no, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Accountability is huge. So at our church that we go to, we call it a life group. But it's a small group of people in our same life stage, and lots of dads, right? So we've got 10 dads in this group, and we keep each other, accountable so much on being a father. And, one of us in the group seems to fail every day, but it's crazy how effective just like a group text can be for that too. But man, it's, if anything, right? If you're a dad out there listening and you don't have another dad that's keeping you accountable to being a dad, man, you're missing out, because it's so huge. I'm fired up. We have in 2 weekends from now, we're going out to a ranch. There's a guy at our church who's kind of retiring from his career. He's like the man of mans. He's the man, however you say it. He's the man. And he's a mountain of a man. Maybe that's the best way to put it. But he's kind of that guy you look to and you're like, man, this dude has lived his life great. His kids have grown up. His kids love him. But I want to be like that guy when I grow up. His second mountain that he's going to after his career is over he's passionate about doing a men's ministry, and he's calling it Reboot. And it's geared towards dads who feel like their lives are moving 1,000,000 miles an hour and they just need to reset and reboot and get some advice from guys who have been there, done that. And I'm fired up about it. So we're going to do that in a couple weekends. It's not an escape, right? Or you're not running away. You're going to become equipped, right? To be inspired, motivated, and equipped to be a better dad. So I'm excited about that. Blake Brewer, who I know you had on this podcast before, is coming down to do that with us too. So really, really, really excited about that. I think sometimes one of the things we forget about too, probably as just people in general, but especially dads when you've got kids and your life does feel like it's moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, is just being alone is really good for you. And you shouldn't feel bad or guilty about that. But like, if you could find a moment every single day of solitude, just to be still, man, that energizes you. It's just a moment to just be still. And I mean, you can't hear from God really unless you're quiet and still. Like, you just can't. It's not. I'm not going to say it's impossible, right? Because anything is possible, right? But I found in my own life, like those days that I can find a moment to just be still and by myself. For me, right? If I'm being realistic, that's going to happen first thing in the morning before anyone else is awake. That's just being realistic. But if you can find a time to do it, I've got this closet in my house, and my kids call it Dad's closet, but that's where I go. Like, it's where I go, and it's kind of weird, but I go in this closet every morning, and that's where I read. That's where I pray, and I'm not distracted. And my wife kind of makes fun of me because, the kids sometimes will wake up and come downstairs while I'm in there, and they'll come into her room and wake her up. And she's like, "Where's Dad?" And they're like, "I think he's in his closet," but they know I'm in there, and, give me 20 minutes and I'll be out. So that's just a word of encouragement for all you dads out there.
Just a couple of acknowledgements here. So the reboot, I think that's so important. You got to get out and do a reset. And I also think you're right too, that men need other like-minded fathers in their life. I think you need fathers ahead of you that can help point the way.
Yep.
You need fathers who are in the same stage as you, and then you need some behind you so you can mentor. You need all three.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important too, that you open your mind and your heart to these in-depth conversations of what it means to be a husband, father, man, and not just like, how's work? Great. I'm sorry. It's good, fine, busy. Those are the three answers that we always say. How's work? Fine. How are the kids? Oh, they're good. Busy. They're in sports. How's your wife? Good. We're good. Yeah, fine. That's about it. But you need those men in your life that are going to be in your life, and not just in your life, but in your corner, right? Checking in on you. Hey, are you and your wife doing date nights? How's the communication? Yeah. Are you guys going to church? How's everything going with your kids? Are you connecting with them? Those types of questions are absolutely huge. And, the other thing too is men need to prioritize things like this. If you want to hear something really funny about my interview with Blake Brewer, who is the founder of Legacy Letters. Yeah. He came on, and he basically has a course that teaches people how to write a letter to their kids that's meaningful and inspirational. And I got to admit, man, doing this work 99% of reviews and comments and everything is love, right? It's praise.
Yeah.
Great. Every now and again, you'll get some finicky people in there, but I'll never forget this one. And just to hit home, what men prioritize, right, is so important. So that there was a guy on Twitter who tagged me and Blake and said, I can't believe your legacy letter online course is $150. I was hoping when I listened to the podcast, I would know exactly how to write this letter by listening to it for free. And I was just like, and again, we don't get a whole lot of hate. And I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. So I never really wasted any time with that, but for some reason that day it intrigued me. I went to that guy's profile. Underneath that tweet was another tweet that he had an affiliate code, a coupon code for Stitch Fix. Mm-hmm. In order to get those affiliate coupon codes, you have to spend no less than $150 on your clothes subscriptions per month. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is why I think men need to be around other like-minded men to elevate them. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but to do something like a reboot or once a year where you get away and you prioritize and you understand what it is that you want in your life and your family, your profession, your health, everything. And this guy is spending over $150 a month in clothes, but he won't spend $150 to get a template of how to write an epic, game-changing letter to his kids. And I think that's really sad. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. These having these other guys in your life can help you reset your priorities pretty quick. I liked those questions that you mentioned, like those questions that you've got to be answering. Right. And I grabbed my phone because these are questions that we commonly will ask each other in this group. And I'll just say a few of them, but what were the happiest times you've had recently? What caused them? Did you remember to thank God for these happy times? What's brought you pain or suffering recently? How did you handle that situation? What are some things that you've been praying for this week? Have you seen God respond to those prayer requests? What's your number one need for this next week? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Is there one particular sinning pattern that you've been falling into recently? Anything that you're feeling convicted about? Like these are how you open up conversations like this. Cause you're right. The how's work, how's wife, how the kids, there's right. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I usually just say probably one of the words you said, probably good. I'm from Texas, so we don't, we say good more than we say fine, I think, but it's good.
It's good. It's good. Yeah. No, man, I love what you're doing. Just in case anybody wants to reach out to you, connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, easiest way. If you're like, man, what's this guy doing? I want to find out more information about him. You just go to my website. It's probably the easiest way. TollesonHealth.com. It's TOLLESON health.com. You can pretty much read about my story and why I'm doing what I'm doing there. And then, if you want to join in this fasting community, it's, again, it's free. Worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a text message. And if you hate it, you can just say stop. That's it. But you can just text the word fast to 77513. And just, I would love to connect with you guys. If you go to my website, I don't know why I give away so much stuff for free, but I do just because I like what I do and I've got time to do it. But just, you can schedule a call with me and I'll help you kind of reframe the way you're going about things in 15 minutes. Or if you've got any other questions, just hop on a call. It's what I do. So it's fun stuff.
Well, guys, not to worry. We're going to have all of Shawn's links in the show notes. So don't you worry about that. We got you covered. We see you. We feel you. We got you covered. For this particular show, all you have to do is go to gooddadproject.com/318-318. Again, gooddadproject.com/318. Shawn, this was awesome, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing some wisdom, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. Dropping some bombs, or should I say pitching some?
Yeah. Gave up more bombs, probably. Yeah.
Seriously, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, gentlemen, go out and live legendary. Take care.